Duide la don't van ban yuko. Number 1. The rule of threes. You're lost. You're cold. You're pretty sure that noise in the distance was not a friendly forest gnome. The first thing you'll probably think of is the rule of threes. You know the one. You can last 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. It's a classic, a survivalist mantra. But here's the problem with a one-size-fits-all rule of thumb. It's not made for your thumb. It's a guideline, not a guarantee. And a lot of survivalists treat it like a divine law handed down from Bear Grylls himself. This rigid focus can be your downfall. You're shivering, it's been 2 hours, and you're worried you'll turn into a human popsicle in 60 minutes. So you build a hasty, poorly constructed shelter that barely blocks the wind, while you should have been gathering firewood, which is a far more effective way to stay warm. Or maybe you've got plenty of water, but you're starving, and you decide to forgo a crucial shelter repair to go hunting for a deer with a sharp stick, because 3 weeks without food is the new magic number. Following this rule to the letter, instead of using it as a flexible framework for prioritizing, is how people make poor decisions under pressure. It creates a countdown of impending doom instead of a logical plan, and it's a great way to let a sense of false urgency get you killed. Number 2, finding food first. You've seen it 1,000 times in movies. The plucky protagonist gets lost in the woods and immediately starts looking for berries, roots, and maybe a squirrel to roast. The immediate priority is food. It's the most primal instinct, right? Our brains are hardwired to worry about the next meal. And while that's a great instinct for a caveman, it's a horrible priority in a modern survival situation. Here's the thing. You can last for weeks without food. You have fat reserves. You have muscle. Your body is a walking pantry. What you don't have is a lot of time to find water, and even less time to find shelter from extreme weather. But your brain, bless its little prehistoric heart, is still thinking about calories. This can lead you to spend your most precious resource, energy, on a low-reward activity. You'll hike for hours, burn through the few calories you have, and get exhausted all to find a handful of bitter berries that might not even be edible. All the while, a storm is rolling in, and you're not in a good position to find shelter. That hunger pang is a little bit of anxiety, not a real survival threat. The truth is, your body is a lot more efficient than you think. Trying to silence that hunger pang by prioritizing food is just a great way to waste time and energy on a problem you don't actually have yet. Number 3. The boil water fallacy. Everyone knows the number 1 rule of wild water. If you find it, you have to boil it. It's been drilled into our heads since we were kids, and for the most part, it's true. Boiling water kills off bacteria and parasites. But what happens when you're out of fuel and you're dying of thirst? Or what if you don't have a container to boil the water in? Your survival brain kicks into overdrive and says, well, I guess I have to just wait until I find something. And that's a mistake that gets people killed. The fact is, drinking unboiled water is almost always better than dying of dehydration. Your body is a lot tougher than you think. And while there's a risk of getting sick, the risk of dying from dehydration is a certainty. If you're lost in a hot desert and you find a puddle of muddy water, you can bet that a case of stomach cramps is the better alternative to a grim demise. The same goes for collecting dew in a forest. It's a lot cleaner than most people think, but the thought of drinking something unpurified can be so ingrained in our minds that we'll die of thirst first. The boil water rule isn't a sacred oath. It's a recommendation for a perfect scenario. So when you're in a situation where the perfect scenario is a distant memory, you need to weigh the consequences. Don't let a good rule for a good situation get you killed in a bad one. Hy vọng bạn hài lòng với bản sao này. Dưới đây là đoạn văn bạn yêu cầu. Number 4. Giving up hope. We hear this all the time, don't we? The will to live is the most important survival tool you have. And while that sounds great in a movie speech, it can actually be the one thing that gets you killed. In a survival situation, your mind is your greatest enemy and your greatest ally. When you start to get tired, scared, or hungry, your brain will start playing tricks on you. You'll start to hallucinate, or see things that aren't there. You'll hear things that aren't real. These are all perfectly normal responses to an overwhelming situation. Your brain is trying to cope with the stress, but in a way that can be a major disadvantage. Giving up hope isn't about throwing in the towel. It's about not being able to tell the difference between reality and fantasy. Your mind can lead you to believe that you're safe when you're not, or that you're rescued when you're still alone. You might see a mirage of a town in the distance and spend your last remaining energy walking towards it, only to find that it was just a few trees. Your brain will trick you into believing what you want to believe, not what you need to believe. And that's why the will to live can be a double-edged sword. You need to be able to stay grounded in reality, even when your mind is telling you otherwise. Number 5, trusting the experts. Think about all the survival shows you've ever watched. You see a host on television who's a former military operative or a wilderness expert. He's got all the gear and all the knowledge. He tells you to always do X, Y, and Z. And you, sitting on your couch, absorb all of this information like a sponge. And you should. The problem is that what works for a trained expert might not work for you. The guy on TV is a highly trained professional who has been in these situations hundreds of times. You have not. So when he tells you to jump a gorge, scale a rock face, or wrestle a crocodile, you can assume that he's doing it with years of experience and training. You are not. So when you get into a survival situation and you remember the one time the TV guy wrestled a bear for a salmon, you might be tempted to do the same thing. And that, my friend, is a great way to end up as a bear's dinner. The survival experts on television are not teaching you how to survive. They're teaching you how to get ratings. The most important lesson you can learn is to not listen to them. Number 6, following the water. This one is a classic. Everyone knows that if you get lost, you should just follow the water downstream, and it'll lead you to civilization. After all towns and cities are built near water, right? The river is a highway. And while that's a good theory, in practice, it's a terrible idea. For starters, the river will take you on the path of most resistance. You'll be climbing over rocks, fighting through underbrush, and getting soaked. All of this will be burning a lot of calories that you don't have. Secondly, the river won't just lead you to a town. It might lead you to a waterfall, a dam, or a raging torrent of water that you can't cross. And even if it does eventually lead you to a town, it could be 1,000 miles away. You'd have been much better off staying in one place and waiting for a rescue party. Following the water isn't a survival tactic. It's a one-way ticket to a very wet and lonely end. The most important thing you can do when you get lost is to stay put. Number 7, relying on the rescue plane. You're stranded. You've made a giant X out of branches and rocks. You've got a fire going. And now you're just waiting for the rescue plane to come and save you. This is the part of the story where everything should be okay. The hero has done everything right, and now all he has to do is wait. And while waiting is a good thing, relying on a rescue plane is not. It's a great way to give up control and hope for the best. The problem is that the best doesn't always happen. Rescue planes might not be able to see you, the weather might be too bad for them to fly, or, God forbid, they might not even know you're missing. And if you've been relying on that plane to come and save you, you've probably stopped looking for other ways to get out of the situation. You've stopped looking for food, water, and shelter. You've become passive. And that's a dangerous thing to be in a survival situation. The most important thing you can do is to never stop moving and never stop trying to get out of the situation. The rescue plane is not a guarantee. It's a bonus. Hy vọng bạn hài lòng với bản sao này. Dưới đây là đoạn văn bản yêu cầu. Number 8. The I can outrun it myth. You've heard it a million times. If you see a bear, just make yourself look big and make a lot of noise. If you see a crocodile, just run in a zigzag pattern. If you see a tiger, just look it in the eye. And while these are all great tips for a very specific scenario, they can also get you killed. The fact is, a lot of animals are a lot faster than you. You can't outrun a bear, and you can't outrun a crocodile. The only thing you can do is to be smart. When you see a dangerous animal, you need to assess the situation and make a smart decision. You might need to climb a tree, find a rock to hide behind, or just stand still and hope for the best. The I can outrun it myth is a great way to get yourself killed. Number 9. Ignoring your gut feeling. Your body is a powerful tool. It's been programmed over millions of years to tell you when something is wrong. You might get a weird feeling in your gut that something is not right. You might get a chill down your spine. Your hairs might stand on end. These are all signs that your body is trying to tell you something. And in a survival situation, you should listen to it. The problem is that we've been taught to ignore our gut feelings. We've been told to be rational and logical. And while those are great things to be in a normal situation, in a survival situation, they can be a death sentence. The ignore your gut feeling myth is a great way to get yourself killed. Number 10. Thinking in terms of survival. You're in a survival situation. It's a dire and desperate time. You're thinking about survival, and you're thinking about it a lot. But here's the thing. Thinking in terms of survival is the wrong way to go about it. The word survival has a lot of connotations. It brings to mind images of a lone wolf fighting for its life against all odds. It brings to mind a desperate, grim, and lonely time. And while all of those things might be true, they're not helpful. The best way to survive a survival situation is to think in terms of thrival. You need to not just be surviving, you need to be thriving. You need to be thinking about how you can improve your situation, not just maintain it. You need to be thinking about how you can make your life better, not just bearable. The word survival is a great way to get yourself killed. Number 11. Not trusting your instincts. Your body is a finely tuned instrument. It's been honed and refined over millions of years of evolution, and it's been taught to tell you when something is wrong. You might get a weird feeling in your gut that something is not right. You might get a chill down your spine. Your hairs might stand on end. These are all signs that your body is trying to tell you something. And in a survival situation, you should listen to it. The problem is that we've been taught to ignore our instincts. We've been told to be rational and logical. And while those are great things to be in a normal situation, in a survival situation, they can be a death sentence. The ignore your gut feeling myth is a great way to get yourself killed. Number 12. The I can do it all myself mentality. You're a strong, independent person. You can do it all yourself. You don't need anyone's help. You can build a shelter, find food and water, and make a fire all by yourself. And while that's a great mentality to have in a normal situation, in a survival situation, it can be a death sentence. The fact is, you can't do it all yourself. You need help, you need to find people, and you need to work together. The most important thing you can do is to find a group of people and work together. The I can do it all myself mentality is a great way to get yourself killed. Hai vọng bạn hài lòng với bản sao này.